Now, what is a commodity? Commodity is nothing but a primary product. It is not a manufactured product, it is a primary good. Now, what is this primary good? Anything which is existing in the raw form. Now, for an example, it can be of iron ore, aluminium, copper, steel, or rice, ragi, wheat, cotton, jute, or it can also be a livestock. All these things put together, we call it as commodity. Every kind of movable property other than auctionable claims, money and securities, every other thing fall under the category of commodity. Now, let's understand how commodity market came into existence in India. Even before 19th century, there was no concept of commodity market in India. Yes, of course, there was trade between many states, many countries all across the world coming to commodities, but there was no formal structure, organization or a regulatory to regulate and monitor the movement or exchange of commodities from one place to another place, from one country to another country. And also there was some undue trade practices of distribution of drugs or unethical practices was practiced in the market. Hence, to put off this, there was a need of there was a need to protect the farmers against price drops and buyers against price rise, and also to act as an alternative platform for investors who was having only intention to invest on stock market, to show them there is an alternative market for investment. Next, to get a count of total production and trade related to commodities of a country in an year. Next, to maintain the records that serve as a record to allocate budget for agriculture and related industry for the upcoming years. Apart from this purpose, slowly India started to have its benchmark on commodities and development of commodity market. Now in the year 1875, it was first recorded that in Bombay there was a cotton trade association formed by the name Bombay Cotton Trade Association, and their primary activity was to trade on cotton contracts. Next, in the year 1900, again in Bombay, there was an commodity that was established to trade on oil seeds along with cotton derivatives. In the year 1913, in Calcutta, there was also another commodity exchange which was established to trade on jute related goods and raw jute. And in the year 1930, in Bombay, yet another commodity exchange which focused on trading on bullion. What is bullion? Bullion is nothing but trading on precious metals such as gold, platinum, diamond. All these things fall under bullion market. And that is how commodity market slowly got its pace in India. And looking at the developments that happened in different parts of country, the government of India in the year 1952 proposed in the parliament and passed a special act in order to incorporate Forward Contract Regulations Act in the year 1952. The primary objective of this contract regulation act was to incorporate a regulatory authority which is called as Forward Market Commission, which is purely to control, monitor, regulate all the activities that happen in the commodity market. Not just 1952 Forward Contract Regulations Act, but also in 1991, that is New Economic Policy, we would have been studied about LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. This new economic policy, in this new economic policy, the government had set up a committee by name Cobra in the year 1993 to examine the role of forward contract regulations, to examine the role and functions of commodity markets all across India. And the committee had given some recommendations to allow future trading in 17 different commodity groups, and the recommendations were accepted by the government, and future trading was permitted in all recommended commodities. Not only that, since 2003 there is a phenomenal growth in commodity markets compared to the last century. Government has taken up all the inputs given by the Cobra committee, and it has lifted up the restrictions and liberalized the activities that has to happen in commodity exchanges. This has paved way, and presently India has 25 recognized future exchanges, of which 3 are national level exchanges. We might have been heard of these national level commodity exchanges such as National Multiple Commodity Exchange, National Commodity and Derivatives Exchange Limited, and Multi Commodities Exchange. These are the 3 national level multi commodity exchanges, and remaining commodity exchanges are functioning within the jurisdiction of their particular state or the particular region. Now, before we get into Forward Market Commission, let us understand types of commodities. Now, types of commodities are divided into agricultural products, industrial metals, precious metals, and energy. See the list of commodities that fall under agricultural products: sugar, potato, livestock, plantations, cereals, pulses, spices, oil seeds. Now you can see the list of commodities that fall under industrial metals: copper, nickel, zinc, aluminium, palladium, lead, tin, steel, sponge iron. Precious metals. See, these are the commodities that fall under precious metals like gold, silver, platinum. Energy: crude oil, natural gases, furnace oil, aviation fuel, power. Now, if you have to understand commodities, commodities is split into hard commodities and soft commodities. What are hard commodities? Hard commodities are like natural resources that are extracted. It can be of any metals, see, which fall under this category, is called as hard commodity. Okay, this and this fall under hard commodity. Your industrial metals, precious metals, and energy fall under hard commodity. What is soft commodity? Soft commodities are like agricultural products and livestock. See, all these things fall under soft commodity category. Oil, sugar, livestock, all these things fall under soft commodity. Now let's understand what is this Forward Market Commission. Forward Market Commission is a regulating authority or a regulating body for all commodities market. It can be regional commodity market or it can be a national commodity market. This FMC, Forward Market Commission, was set up in the year 1953 under Forward Contract Regulations Act, which was specially passed in Parliament in the year 1952. The bill was passed and it got signed by President in the year 1952. It is the regulating body for commodities, futures and forward trade in India. We shall discuss what is futures and what is forward in detail in the upcoming slides. And its headquarters is in Mumbai. Now let's see what are the functions of Forward Market Commission. First function is advisory function, to advise central government in respect of grant of recognition or withdrawal of recognition of any association. Now what is this association? All commodity exchanges are said to be an association, irrespective of national commodity exchange or regional commodity exchange. All are said to be an association. Their recognition is given by Forward Market Commission. That means we should understand that the future contract trading is happening in a recognized commodity exchanges, and this recognition is given by Forward Market Commission. Next, to observe the market, to observe the forward contract market and to understand the need of development. Next, to collect and publish the information relating to trade conditions in respect of goods, including information relating to demand and supply of the prices. To submit the government periodical reports of forward market in commodities. To understand, to undertake inspection of books of accounts. So this Forward Market Commission has all rights to get into any commodity exchanges, ask for their books of accounts. Anytime it can inspect if it is necessary. Next, to make any recommendations if at all there is need for improvement in developing any forward markets. Such kind of recommendations can be given by this Forward Market Commission. These are the functions of Forward Market Commission. Now let us understand the structure of Forward Market Commission. Okay. Now this FMC will fall under the Ministry of Finance. Okay. See, our subject itself tells stock and commodity market. Stock market also fall under the Ministry of Finance, and commodity market also fall under the Ministry of Finance. Okay. So this FMC fall under the Ministry of Finance. Under Forward Market Commission, there are commodity exchanges. Again, in this commodity exchanges, we have national level commodity exchanges and regional level commodity exchanges. Why is this called as national level commodity exchanges? Is because all across the world, if anybody thinks of investing in commodities, especially in India, they would first strike, it would first strike in their mind about multi-commodity exchange, national commodity exchange, national multi-commodity exchange, Indian commodity exchange. These are worldwide recognized and they act as a representative of Indian commodity market. Okay, everyone it or not? So hence they are called as national exchanges. Now for an example, let us take like this: a person from London, he wants to invest in Indian commodity market. First thing that may strike in his mind is MCX or NCDEX or NMCX, NMCE, ICX. All these are the commodity exchanges that may strike in his mind. So what is regional exchanges? Regional exchanges are that exchanges which is set up within the jurisdiction of a particular state or a particular region. Its functioning, its capability or its functioning is restricted only to that particular jurisdiction. That is a difference between national exchanges and regional exchanges. Now let's discuss about the membership. Who is eligible for becoming a members in commodity exchange? Anybody who is not lunatic, that means whose mental state is not that good or that normal. So a person who's lunatic, a person who is not financially stable, that means his financial position is not that good, or a foreign ambassador or an alien enemy. Apart from these people, anybody else who is interested to become a member of commodity exchange can become. It can be a proprietor, it can be a partnership firm, it can be a HUF, Hindu Undivided Family, it can be a private limited, public limited, cooperatives, or even stockbrokers who have their registration done in any of the recognized stock exchange, maybe in Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange or any of other regional stock exchanges. They are already existing stockbroker, even they are allowed to act as a member in commodity exchange. Now let us understand what type of membership is provided in commodity exchanges. We shall go by ordinary member, designated clearing banks, trading cum clearing members, institutional clearing members, and trading members. These are the types of membership that a commodity exchange can provide to any member. Now let us understand who is this ordinary member. Ordinary member is a person who has an account to do transactions. He can buy and sell, but not directly entering into trading ring. That means he cannot directly involve in buying and selling. He can buy and sell through a trading member. You will understand or not? So who is a trading member? He is a person who has the power to execute, buy and sell orders in trading ring. He can do this buying and selling on his own behalf. He can do for him his own self, or he can also do it on behalf of a ordinary member. There is a difference between ordinary member and a trading member. See, understand, once again I shall repeat. Ordinary member is a person who has a right to do transactions in commodity market. But the thing is that he cannot enter the trading ring and directly place an order. If he has to place an order, first he need to identify a trading member. After identifying trading member, through trading member he need to place an order and then get the orders received from a trading member. So ordinary member is not allowed to do transactions directly into a trading ring. Now who is a trading member? Trading member is a person who is allowed to trade on his own behalf. At the same time, he can also act as a trading member on behalf of somebody else. For an example, ordinary member. See, these members execute buy and sell orders in the in the trading ring of the exchange on their own account or on account of ordinary members and other clients. Next, trading cum clearing members. Who are these trading cum clearing members? They have the right to trade. They have the right to trade and also to participate in clearing and settlement. What is clearing and settlement? So clearing is nothing but delivering the goods to buyer, and settlement is nothing but from buyer collect the money and settle the dues to the seller. So in detail we shall be studying about clearing and settlement in unit 5, but as of now just understand clearing and settlement is nothing but handing over the goods to one party and transferring the cash to the other party, handing over the goods to buyer and transferring the cash to the seller. So this trading cum clearing member have the right to trade for himself, he has the right to trade for others, and at the same time he can also participate in clearing and settling the transaction that he had carried over. Now whereas coming to institutional clearing members, they don't have the right to trade. They don't have the right to trade. They have the right to participate in clearing and settlement on behalf of their members, but they don't have the right to trade. They can't trade for themselves, but on behalf of their clients, they can involve in clearing and settlement. That's it. Now, what is this designated clearing banks? Basically, it is a bank which provides a banking facility in respect of pay in, pay out monetary settlements. There should be a financial institution as money is transferring from one party to another party. There should be a financial institution which provides some sort of financial services in terms of transfer. So any financial institution which involves in transferring of money, maybe in, pay out, such type of institutions are said to be designated clearing banks. These are the types of membership that is being provided by commodity exchanges. So in the previous slide we studied about eligibility of member. In this slide we studied about types of membership. Now we saw eligibility of a member, then we saw types of membership. Now let us see the process of becoming a member, or how to get this membership from any commodity exchange. First, there must be application form that has to be filled and submitted to the respective commodity exchange. Along with the application form, there are three types of fees. We need to remember, one is the non-refundable admission fee, next capital refundable fee, and trade guaranteed again refundable fee. There are three types of fee that a member has to pay. That is non-refundable, capital fee, and trade guarantee fee. Now this non-refundable admission fee, once he pays, he won't be getting it back again from the commodity exchange. Now, if you ask me what is the fee will differ from one commodity exchange to another commodity exchange. Hence, let us understand that as a non-refundable fee. Even the capital fee and a trade guarantee fee will differ from exchange to exchange. Okay. Then he need to pay annual subscription charges. Along with that, the applicant has to prescribe the total net worth of his financial background, how financially capable he is, how financially sound he is, that he need to mention in the application form. And he need to pay additional based capital fee which is refundable after minimum lock-in period. Again, contribution towards the trade guarantee fund, again it is refundable after a certain lock-in period. Once he pays the fee, next his application is now been processed by the respective commodity exchange, and the decision is being made whether to invite him for the interview or not. In the interview, his financial worthiness is being decided, and once he clears the interview, he shall be given a approval letter to become a member. Once he gets the approval letter, next the third step is, after submitting a copy of approval letter to the commodity exchange, the exchange will provide him a unique membership number or a unique membership code. He shall get a domain login ID and password. Using this membership code, domain login ID and password, he can log in to the trading terminal, or let us call it as the trading portal of that particular commodity exchange, and he can access through internet. Through his domain ID he can access, that is, he can involve in buying and selling of commodities. In this membership, we have two types of membership. One thing we need to understand, in this membership we have two types of membership. One is said to be a broker member, another one is said to be a trader member. Broker member, if you get a membership by the title called as broker member, that broker member does not have the right to trade for himself. He only has the right to trade for a third party or for a client. He can trade. But if you are getting a membership by the title called as trader member, that means you have all rights to trade only for yourself, not for a third party or for your client. Trader member will not have a client, whereas broker member will always render his services for a client. Okay, now let us understand the types of transaction that is dealt in commodity market. In commodity market, there are only two types of transactions or only two types of market. One is said to be the spot market or physical market. The other one is said to be the derivative market. Now let us understand what is spot market. Now we all do this in our daily life. Suppose we want something, we go to a shop, we pay money and get the article on spot. This is what is called a spot market or physical market, where the market in which the goods are bought and sold for cash and delivery is made immediately. You understand? Delivery is made immediately. You pay cash and goods are delivered. Hence, cash is paid immediately. It is also called as cash market. The other type of market apart from spot market is derivative market. What is derivative market? What is derivative? Derivative is a financial contract which has received its value, which has got its value from an underlying assets. Now when I mean financial contracts, the trade is not going to happen immediately on spot now, but the trade is going to happen in future. Related to that trade, the contracts are entered now. Contracts are entered now. Execution of the contract is about to happen in future. Understand? Contracts are entered now, and execution of the contracts are happening in future. Now when I have to talk about derivative market, in this derivatives there are again three types of markets: forward market, future market, and options, or I would also call it as a forward contract, future contract, and options. Now let us see what is forwards. Now, forward contracts or forward markets, these are the agreement that is being entered between buyer and seller. Buyer and seller enter into a contract to buy a commodity at a particular time for a certain price in future. As I told you, trade is not going to happen immediately. The trade is going to happen sometime in future. For the future trade, the contract is entered today itself. Again, in forward contract, one thing that we have to observe is a forward contract is a customized contract between two parties. Now, what you understand by customized contract? Which means here the forward market commission nor the commodity exchange will not interrupt in the contract between this buyer and seller. You understand it or not? Because this contract is not executed inside the commodity exchange. This contract is about to get executed outside the exchange without the interruption, without the intervention or monitoring or regulating of any FMC or commodity exchange. This is totally happening outside the commodity exchange. You understand or not? That is what we need to understand by this word called as customized. A forward contract is a customized contract between two parties where settlement takes place on a specific date in future at a price agreed today. So it is said to be contract price. Whatever price that are agreeing it today and mentioning it in the contract, that price is said to be a contract price. You will understand it or not? For an example, let us take like this. 2 weeks before, a buyer and seller would have entered into a contract to buy 1 ton of cotton. Let us imagine 1 ton of cotton, the buyer would have agreed to pay 1 lakh rupees. The buyer would have agreed to pay 1 lakh rupees. The same price would have been mentioned in the contract. Now tell me, what is a contract price? Yes, exactly. The contract price is said to be 1 lakh price. Next, let us see. In forward contract, the buyers agree to buy and pay for, and the seller agrees to sell and deliver a specific commodity at a specified date and at a specified price in the future. When that date arrives, the agreement is completed with the seller delivering the specified commodity and the buyer paying the specified price. So on the future date, whenever the contract is about to get executed, on that date the buyer will pay the money and seller will deliver the goods. Now, what and all things is been customized? Price is customized, quality is customized, size is customized, date of exit. In forward markets, both the parties are not stepping into the commodity market itself. They are entering into contract outside the commodity exchange without the interruption of the commodity exchange, without the interruption of forward market commission. See, they are bilateral contracts, hence exposed to counterparty risk. Each contract is custom designed and hence is unique in terms of contract size, expiry date, and the commodity type and quality. Forward market commission, the interruption of commodity exchanges is completely nil, which means both the parties have all rights to decide on their contract price, size, expiry date, quality, quantity, and at the same time the contract price is generally not available in the public domain. That means prices will not be appearing in commodity exchange portal. Why? Because they have not entered into the commodity exchange itself to enter into a contract. Okay, hence whatever price that they enter into their contracts is not available to public. The contract has been settled and by delivery of assets on expiry date. Yes, the contract will come to an end when the seller transfers the goods on an expiry date or on the delivery date or on the contract date, and buyer makes the payment and settlement is done. Forward contracts are mostly used for hedging and speculation. Yes, we shall discuss on hedging and speculation in detail in the upcoming slides. Now, whereas coming to future contracts is right opposite to forward contracts. Future contracts are in particular entered into future commodities exchange. Okay, I repeat, future contracts are similar to forwards but are traded on future exchanges or commodity exchanges. Both are same. Okay, or you can also call it as future commodity exchanges. They're entered within the commodity exchange. Okay, you can call this commodity exchange as futures commodity exchange also. A futures market is a standardized contract to buy or sell a certain underlying asset to a certain date in the future at a specified time. Yes, same thing happens in forward contract also. Contract is entered today to execute it on a certain date, specified price, specified day. Isn't it not so? But the only difference is here the contracts are entered in the commodity exchanges. There in forward contracts, the contract is entered outside the commodity exchanges. That's all. See, let us understand the difference. If at all, the part settlement, all these things is predetermined. All these things is fixed, standardized by the futures commodity exchange, which means both the buyer is also protected and seller is also protected. There is no question of cheating each other. Now let's understand what is option contracts. Option is a right. Option is what? Option is a right. From where do we get this right? We get this right from a commodity exchange by paying some premium or the initial cost. Now there are two parties. How many parties are there? There are two parties. One is said to be the buyer, the other one is said to be the seller. Amongst these two parties, only one will be getting the right from the commodity exchange. And that too how? By paying the initial cost or the premium to commodity exchange. Either buyer wants to pay premium and purchase that right, he can purchase it. Or if the seller want to pay the premium and purchase the right from commodity market, from commodity exchange, he can purchase it. Both of them cannot buy. Either of the party, either the buyer or the seller, either the buyer or the seller have the option to buy the right. Now if buyer buys the right, then that right is called as call option. Okay, see, a call option, an option that gives the buyer the right to buy is called as call option. Put option, an option that gives the buyer the right to sell is called as put option. So usually call option is to buy and usually put option is to sell. So if buyer buys the option, we call that as call option. If seller buys that option, we call that as put option. Now where do we get this option? We get this option in commodity exchange. How can we buy it? We can buy it by paying initial cost or the premium. Can both the parties buy? No. In a contract, any one party can volunteer themselves to buy. Suppose if buyer buys the option, then that option is called as call option. And suppose if seller buys that option, then that option is called as put option. Now what is the advantage of this option? This option gives the right but not obligation. Now what is obligation? Obligation is nothing but anything that is compulsory to perform. Anything that is compulsory to perform is called as obligation. Okay. Now for an example, let us take like this. In your agreement, tenant has agreed to vacate the house today and hand over the key to you. You are the owner. Then what is the obligation? What is the tenant's obligation? Tenant's obligation is to vacate the house and hand over the key. Now as per the terms and conditions, once you receive the key, you would have been promised to refund the what? You would have been promised to refund the deposit amount. Now what is your obligation as an owner after receiving the key? You have to, must and should return back the deposit amount. Now understand what is obligation? Obligation is something that is compulsory to perform, sticking on to the terms and conditions, obliged to the terms and conditions, performing it compulsorily is called as obligation. You have understand it or not? Now, if buyer buys this right, then seller is not having the right. He has left out with obligation. Suppose if seller is buying the right, buyer has left out with obligation. Now what will they do with this right? Either buyer or seller, after purchasing this right, they will be deciding the strike price or exercise price. What is strike price? I told you na, today they are entering into a contract to perform it in future. So today they are entering it into a contract by fixing a price. So if buyer purchases the right, buyer can fix the price. If seller purchases the right, seller can fix the price, which is called a strike price or exercise price. Okay, I shall repeat it. Option contract. This option can be bought by buyer or seller. From where they get this option? They get this option from a commodity exchange. How are they going to get it? They will get it by paying initial cost or premium. Now if buyer buys the option, it is called as call option. Suppose if seller buys the option, it is called as put option. Okay. Now in these two parties, buyer and seller, suppose let us take like this for example. If seller has bought the option, then what do buyer have? Buyer have only obligation. Vice versa. For example, let us take like this now. If buyer has bought the right option, then seller is left out with only obligation. Now what is obligation? Anything that is compulsory to perform is called as obligation. Now let us take like this for an example. Let us take like this for an example. We have promised, I am buyer and you are seller. I am buyer and you are a seller. We both have entered into a contract. To buy and sell 1 ton of rice. How much? 1 ton of rice. Now let us take like this. I am expecting by next week 1 kg of rice. 1 ton of rice. How much? 1 ton of rice from 60,000 rupees. It is going to increase to 65,000 rupees. It is going to increase to 65,000 rupees. What is my expectation? This week the price is 60,000 rupees. Next week I am expecting it to rise by 65,000 rupees. So today itself I shall buy the option from the commodity exchange and I shall quote the price as 60,000. Buyer will quote the price as how much? 60,000, which means on the date of execution, even if the price is 65,000, the seller has the obligation to sell it for a price of 60,000 only. You have to understand it or not? You understood what is the difference between put and call option? Vice versa. Same thing is applicable even to a seller. Understood? Suppose if seller, he thinks in near future the price will drop. In near future the price will drop. Today 1 ton of rice is 60,000 rupees. Now let us take like this, in near future it is going to fall by 1,000 rupees. It is going to become 59,000 rupees. Very simple. He can buy put option from commodity exchange. He can enter into a contract with the buyer quoting the price for 60,000 rupees only, and next week on the date of execution the buyer has the obligation to buy it for rupees 60,000. You understand? So in derivative markets we studied about forward markets, then we studied about future markets, then also we studied about options market, that is options contract. Now let us see who are all the participants in commodity market. The participants in commodity market are hedgers, speculators and arbitrators. So first category of participant are hedgers. Who are these hedgers? Hedgers are those kind of people who normally have a fear of price drop in the future. For an example, let us take like this. I have extracted oil, petrol, crude oil. Now one barrel of oil this week, let us take like this, it is of 1 crore. 1 barrel of oil is of 1 crore. Now as a seller I will be having fear where in near future there will be a price drop. So today itself I will enter into a contract and I shall shift the risk of price drop. What will I be doing? I shall be shifting the risk of price drop. They are called as hedgers. See, hedgers are the people who are worried about the potential losses they could incur due to volatile change in the prices, volatile movement of prices, change in the prices. Today it might be low, tomorrow it may increase, then day after it may decrease. Fluctuation of prices, change in the prices is called as volatile. Volatile prices of the commodities they could be physically holding with them. So who are they? They are basically sellers. They already have the commodities with them, but they are worried what in near future if there is a price drop. So they are entering into a contract today itself for the existing price or the contract price. By entering into a contract, they are transferring their risk. They are minimizing their risk. See, some of the hedgers are exporters, importers, processors, farmers, merchandisers. All these people are also part of hedgers. Now, they use derivatives market. Just now we saw derivatives. There are forward contracts, future contracts and options. All these three put together we call it as derivative. What is derivative? Derivative is a contract which has got its value from an underlying asset. Okay. So they use derivatives market to reduce or eliminate the risk associated with price of a commodity. So as I told you, they enter into a contract either by using forward contract or features contract or purchasing an option, right? Put option or call option, they purchase it. Majority of the participant in derivatives market belong to this category. They trade in future market to transfer their risk of movement in prices of the commodity they are actually physically dealing it. Okay, understand hedgers? Next, let us see who are speculators. Speculation is type of gambling. Now these speculators are not actually buying any commodities, but they shall involve in buying financial contracts. That is, they involve in buying derivatives. They are basically risk takers. They love to take risk. They believe that the higher the risk, the higher the return. And sometimes they earn high rewards for high risk that is being taken by them. They generally bet against the price movement. See, they are not buying the commodities, they are just predicting the movement of the price. They are involving in bet. There are a group of people who are involving in bet. So it's like few set of people will tell that there will be a price drop, then the other set of people will tell that no, there shall be a price increase. So this is what will happen in this kind of speculators. This group of people, this is what will happen. Betting will happen. So basically they will not involve in buying and selling of commodities. They will involve in buying and selling of contracts. That is, they will involve in buying and selling of derivatives itself. Okay, so their main intention is to bet. Their main intention is to take risk by purchasing financial contracts. Okay, buying a financial contract in anticipation of price increase is known as going long. Suppose you think that in future the prices may increase and today you want to buy a future contract. Now let us take like this, two parties have entered into a contract. The contract price is 10 lakh rupees. In future you are expecting the same contract will get executed as per the market price is 11 lakhs. You are expecting the market price to be 11 lakhs, but the contract price is 10 lakhs. Very simple, you would buy that contract. You will hold that for a longer period of time. Once the price reaches to your expectation, that is to the market price 11 lakhs, very simple, you would execute the contract. You got it? Vice versa. Selling a future contract in an anticipation of a price decrease is known as going short. Okay, so suppose you have bought a contract of 10 lakh. In future you are thinking that the price may go down, it may drop down. So today itself you are selling it. You are selling that contract. Then we call that as going short. Okay, so speculators are basically risk takers. They do not associate with any commodities. They generally involve in bet. They generally involve in betting on movement of prices. They anticipate, they expect, some group of people will expect in price increase and some other group of people will expect the price decrease. This is what will happen in speculation. Now apart from speculation, there is other category of people who is called as arbitrager. Who are these arbitrager? Arbitrators are that people who involve themselves into two different markets simultaneously. What is this simultaneously? Which means they enter into one market to buy and they enter into other market to sell. They enter into that market where the prices of a particular commodity is low. Now for an example, let us take like this, jute. From one commodity, let us take like this, from Rajasthan, Bikaner jute exchange. The prices of the jute there is less. The prices for the jute there is less. From there, the jute is been purchased and it is sold in Assam Commodity Exchange. What has been done? Jute is been purchased at a lesser price and it is been sold at a higher price in different market. So arbitrator is a person who involve himself in buying and selling in two different markets. He enters into two different markets to take the price advantage. You understand it or not? Huh? He enters into a market where the prices of the commodity is less. From there he buys it, and he enters into some other commodity market where the demand for that particular commodity is high, and he sells it for a higher price. Whatever is the price difference is the profit that he earns.